Welcome to another podcast in the series of 31 Weird Places to Read a Bible, based on a book I did a couple of years ago, where I connect a story from the Bible with a place in ordinary life. And today we're thinking about watching cartoons, because many of Jesus' stories were like audible cartoons, really. They were larger than life, they were madcap, they were funny, they were surreal. And on one occasion he talked about a camel trying to squeeze through the eye of a needle, which is ridiculous, isn't it? You know, you might as well talk about an elephant getting through a keyhole, or a double-decker bus driving in through one ear and out the other. You know, this is kind of mad stuff, which is saying basically it's ludicrous and it's impossible. And Jesus was using that story about wealth and getting into heaven. And the disciples were astounded because Jesus was saying it was very difficult for a rich person to enter heaven. And the disciples were shocked because they thought that riches were a sign that God was on your side, and that poverty was a sign that God had somehow turned against you. And Jesus is saying absolutely not. Nothing to do with wealth or poverty. God is on your side, and then the question is, what do you do with what you have? And Jesus was effectively saying sometimes wealth and the things we acquire and shove into our lives, they build a kind of wall, if you like, between us and God. Sometimes they get in the way of seeing reality and of love and of truth and of peace and justice. So this was quite hard for the disciples to swallow. But Jesus frequently talked about this kind of thing. He said, you know, blessed are the poor. And the word for blessed meant God is with. And he talked about the grieving and the broken and those who long for some mercy and long for justice. And he said God is with all those people because God is in those places where there is darkness and difficulty. And in fact, Jesus then lived that out for the next 3 years, because that's exactly where he spent his days, with the people who were struggling and poor and broken and needing to know that God was with them. So next time you watch a cartoon, think about squeezing an elephant through a keyhole, and remember that Jesus' stories are humorous and funny and wacky and madcap, so that we will remember them and think on what he was meaning when he was talking about the things that can come between us and what really matters in this life. Thanks very much for listening. I'll be back again.